Hello and welcome to Leviathan News. Summer is over, guys, and we're on to fall. And the big story yesterday was that the SEC delayed its decision on several Bitcoin ETFs, including from BlackRock, Fidelity, WisdomTree, Bitwise, VanEck, Invesco, and Valkyrie until mid-October. The delays had been widely expected, but some people thought that we might have seen some sort of change in the SEC's tune after its loss in the Grayscale case this week. So
are they really so nimble?
So the commission said that it found it appropriate to designate a longer period to take action on the proposed rule, so that it has sufficient time to consider the proposed rule change and the issues raised therein. Right. So obviously Bitcoin price fell in the news. We're down. That little pump that we had earlier in the week because of the Grayscale decision completely sold off, and we're back to where we are, down for the week. So is what it is. Nothing really to be expected, more to be expected from the SEC, really, based on their positioning and the continuous cancellations or denials that they've given to these Bitcoin ETFs over the past decade.
How long are stuff going to be delayed now? Is it known already?
So I believe there's 45 days for comment period. So essentially they're opening up a comment period now. There's 45 days for that, and then they'll have another 45 days for a decision. So we probably will see something towards the end of the year.
It's going to be an interesting Q1 2024.
Yeah, actually, hopefully. So we also had Robinhood that said on Friday it had entered into a share repurchase agreement with the United States Marshal Service for $605.7 million to buy back stock from SBF in the wake of FTX's collapse. So the shares of Robinhood were seized and transferred to the custody of the U.S. government after FTX collapsed last year. And they said that the sale of 55.3 million shares at a $10.96 had been approved by the U.S. government, and they would be taking them back. And then I believe all this cash is probably going back to FTX creditors. But it's a little unclear. I mean, if the U.S. government is selling seized assets, then it's probably going back to you creditors, which is good. It's quite a lot of money, actually. And yeah, so then we've got kind of like two stories here. So the first one that kind of is relevant because token 2049 is coming up is that Singapore is rolling out measures that is going to allow a lot of services like stablecoin issuance and retail access and stuff. But there's some of the strictest regulations in the entire world, and companies have been, and DAOs have kind of like been looking at this as a way to establish themselves in Singapore.
It's a little confusing, isn't it? I mean, not confusing, I guess, but because Singapore is all notoriously like always had like very strict regulations for its civilians. Boomers would remember like a case a long time ago when like a U.S. citizen like accidentally like was, I think, chewing gum in an area where it wasn't allowed and got caned.
Yes. Yeah, I remember that.
So Singapore seems very weird for me, to be honest.
So you have to get a license actually to operate inside the company, and the Monetary Authority of Singapore has only approved a limited number of these, and these, they're taking comments from the public. They're also going to be implementing more initiatives starting from the end of the year, and once enacted, it's going to have the strictest regulatory regime in the world governing retail access to cryptocurrency.
Yeah. I mean, it sort of makes me think of the bit license in the United States in New York, where like New York put this like very onerous regime in, and certainly at the time, like I and a lot of people thought it was going to be the end of crypto in New York, but paradoxically, or maybe because of the strong regulations, like it's actually thriving, right? Like Uniswap's based there, a lot of DeFi companies based there. Sam, you're based in New York. Like, what's the scene look like on the ground?
Yeah, so in New York,
yeah,
which might be
the closest comparable we have to Singapore.
Yeah, I don't go outside. I don't talk to people, so I just sit inside my house all day.
You talk to us,
I talk to people online. Honestly, if who needs to go outside and seek real in-person contact when you have great Telegram friends?
Oh, a counterpoint would come from DeFiAdvisoor. You've been out of the house the last 5 streams in a row. What's it like outside? What does grass feel like?
Quite refreshing. Not necessarily grass, but the outside world, the sky, all that kind of natural stuff. It's quite good, to be honest. Like, I gotta say, I like it.
Yeah. But this kind of like ties in with another story that you wanted to talk about, which is that Chinese courts have recognized virtual assets as protected property despite the crypto ban.
Yeah, it's so interesting. So basically, like Hong Kong and Singapore are essentially in competition with each other for which is going to be the biggest like crypto hub, financial hub in Asia. So it almost seems like if Singapore puts in like extremely onerous regulations that might cause all the activity to move to Hong Kong. But then I have trouble like wrapping my head around it because China's banned Bitcoin, but at the same time it's protected. So is this like a way of like luring people out to like be like, oh look, see, I've got Bitcoin, it's legal, and then throwing them in jail because the other side of the law says it's illegal? Like,
yeah. So what happened was the Chinese court declared that virtual assets, including cryptocurrencies and NFTs, are legal properties protected by law. The ruling was made by Shanghai High People's Court in a case involving a dispute over the ownership of Bitcoin. The court found that Bitcoin has economic value and can be used as a store of value, making it a form of property. And it's pretty significant as legal status of crypto inside of China had been questionable, and this decision could pave the way for wider acceptance of cryptocurrencies inside the country.
Yeah, we have to get DeFi Cheetah on to talk about the situation.
So we got a couple more things of like non-DeFi news. The last one, we got 2 more things to talk about. Well, 3 actually. So I didn't know this, but apparently BiLira's TRYB, a Turkish lira derivative, has become the world's largest stablecoin that isn't the dollar, which is really kind of crazy because, there's like Euro E out there and a few other ones, but, apparently there's liquidity for this TYRB. I've never seen this before, Gerrit. Have you?
Yeah, so I've been trying to dig into this and understand the situation. It's a little complicated because even DeFi Llama doesn't have TRYB listed on DeFi Llama. And DeFi Llama, of course, is like my go-to source for stats. But diving into it, like I don't exactly know what other chain it exists on. There's about $40 million worth of this TRYB on Ethereum. And according to the CoinGecko market capitalization, it is about 125 million total TRYB is out there. Now, what's kind of interesting about this is that TRYB is like the worst possible stablecoin that you might own because the Turkish lira is like competing with the Argentinian peso for like the most devalued currency on the planet. This is if you chose to convert your money into TRYB and just hold it just to see what was going on. Like it's trading like one of our favorite DeFi tokens over the past year, just down, 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 down. Inflation's a huge problem in Turkey. So like Argentina, there's a lot of people that do turn to cryptocurrency. So crypto usage in like countries of high inflation is very common. I have to imagine that a lot of the people are like taking their local lira, converting it into this TRYB, and then using the TRYB to sell out to like literally anything else, probably a lot of dollar coins.
Yeah, so let's talk about the whole. The market cap's like 40 million, which is surprising. Are there no other stable coins that have a market cap bigger than 40 million that aren't the dollar?
The next highest one would be the Euro Tether. And if you look at the list of CoinGecko's like top stable coins, the Euro Tether like barely it's 14th. It's got a $223 million market cap.
And how much does the TRYB have in total?
According to CoinGecko, like 140 million.
I don't believe this one because, like, look, here's Euro C, right? The EUROC, which has a fully diluted market cap of 53 million and a circulating supply of 49 million.
But also that's on Ethereum. Like, it
might be
on other chains.
Like BitLira. So BitLira does have a billion circulating supply, but the price of the lira is 3 cents, and there's a fully diluted valuation of 39 million. So I don't understand what they're talking about. Like, when we look at this holders tab, like the top 3 holders of the lira here control what, like close to what is it, like 30, like 90% of all the TYRB is in three accounts. I'm a little suspect about this story. It seems like some PR.
As this has been doing the run up, a lot of people have been saying there's something funky about this. So I wouldn't encourage anybody to try and buy the dip on TRYB at the moment, thinking they might go up. It's entirely possible. They say it's completely backed and that it's all like, every TRYB is backed by a lira in the bank. I'm not sure if I necessarily believe it.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah, but even if it is backed, probably it doesn't really helps it much with the situation of the Turkish lira.
Yeah. Yet, do you know what the...
There's so much commerce going on in like Turkey. Turkey is like, I don't know how much people in the US even know that, but Turkey is a very important financial force, and so much stuff is being manufactured there and produced there, both in like all kinds of stuff, like hard stuff, like even electricity, like equipment and stuff like that, but also a lot of food. So maybe there's like a new way to, like, maybe people like paying each other, like in a, like, I don't know if it's like, but maybe in some cases they rather like, I can understand why there's some kind of market for a coin like TRYB, because maybe it's just very useful for people, with actual use case, not like an investment or anything like that. And I agree to your point, with your point earlier, Gerrit. Most of them probably pretty much immediately dump it for a dollar pegged stablecoin, or ETH or whatever. No one will hold it. Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense to hold the TRYB.
You know what the number one exchange for TRYB was?
What?
FTX.
Oh yeah.
So doesn't add anything to its credibility, in my opinion.
I don't understand where they get these figures. Okay, so here's the figures.
Sam Bankman-Fried's spreadsheet, probably.
Wait, but is this up to date? What days? This is August 31st, right? And they're like, at a market cap of 117 million, TRYB is actually the second largest non-USD stablecoin in the world. So EURT would be number 1, but 400 million tokens of, they only sold $36 million. Can we talk about this foreign exchange stuff for a second? Like, why don't the euros like the euro? Like, there's just such tepid demand for it across all of DeFi. What's going on? Like, have you gotten any sort of sense of this?
Maybe
very weird, to be honest.
EU's a declining global power.
No, but they should have decent liquidity. I don't like, there's $400 million worth of euro tether. Like, why? Like, the dollar stable coins are like 95% of all supply in this space.
Probably because if you're a euro poor, you crave to have a dollar.
Probably the euro poor is definitely
shows how strong the dollar actually is, to be honest, in people's mind at least. Like, people just prefer it. Simple as that.
I've got a colleague in Turkey I'm going to try and book to get on the show next week to see if we can make sense of this TRYB situation.
Well, I think I would happily take TRYB as a borrow asset. Like, if I want to buy TRYB and like just sell it, or sorry, borrow TRYB. If somebody wants to like lend me TRYB so I can sell it and I'll give it back to you in a year when it's declined by 50%. maybe we can have some discussions, especially if I can get some decent interest rates.
Yeah, maybe that exists on Tron for all we know, and maybe that's why it's going wild. So
yeah, it is a little strange. I'm just like, I didn't know that there was this much of this tribe, right? Like the Euro T, Euro V1. Interesting. Well, where is it all? So there's only like 40 million on CoinGecko. Where's the rest? Is it on Tron? It must be on Tron somewhere, honestly.
It's got to be, right?
It's got to be. Yeah, it's got to be. Like it's Binance, Huobi, and one other person is definitely Tron. So we'll go do some investigating. We're all really surprised about this.
See if I get my Turkish friend on the cast next week to talk about it.
Yeah. So Swift announces, successful transfer of tokenized value across multiple blockchains using ChainLink.
CCIP starting to work.
CCIP. But this is Swift. This is what all the XRP bros talk about. So Swift and ChainLink successfully transferred some tokenized value across multiple blockchains. If you don't know, Swift is a global payments network that connects banks and other financial institutions. And ChainLink is ChainLink. It's an Oracle network. So in the experiment, Swift used ChainLink's CCIP, cross-chain interoperability protocol, to connect with different blockchains, and it was successful in transferring some tokens. And this is significant as it could pave the way for wider use of institutional, or not even like institutional or bank use of tokenized assets using Swift.
Yeah. I think Swift is like the biggest network in which TradFi money flows through, right?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, it's really just a messaging protocol, right? Just like ChainLink is, especially for what they're building with CCIP. And XRP bros must be in shambles after Swift has a new best friend.
Yeah, actually, in the ChainLink community, they've been talking about it for years, but to see that it's actually coming to some kind of fruition, and to see this pilot actually establishing itself, I really think that if this thing proves itself with time and with scale, the ChainLink moat will be very hard to catch up to.
Okay, so let's talk about LoserTalk. Yeah, you got something, Gerrit?
Just real quick before we move on, like as a survivor of the 2018 bear market, like I would have killed for hopium like this during the bear market. Like how come like we get like announcements like this, ETFs on the way, and all of our favorite tokens are just down, down, down? Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, they wanted at home sleeping.
Because it's all a scam and it's going to zero, Gerrit. That's why.
Must be.
Yeah, Sergey's got like fat bags that he's got to sell off to feed his family. All right, let's talk about LoserTalk. You know how losers talk? This is how losers talk. Superviz, who is part of one of the Ethereum beacon chain community people. I probably should have found out more about him, but apparently he said these providers, these LSD providers, are committed or in the process of committing to self-limiting to 22% of Ethereum's validator percentage. This is how our chain will be successful. Coordination above greed, cooperation instead of winner take all. Very loser talk here. Like these are all like competitors to, these are all people complaining about Lido, that they're just doing too good of a job and that nobody wants to use their services, and they're kind of virtue signaling their loser status in the face of the incumbent, who actually has a lot of ETH. Like Lido has something like 33% of all ETH. I just find these funny, right? Lido's made up of what, like 30 different whitelisted validator groups, right? In theory, like it's not just one person running all the nodes. There's like 30 different there's a bunch of different whitelisted people. Even Rocket Pool has like, it's supposedly decentralized. So I think this is a little bit funny.
So what about Leviathan? Should we also take this pledge that we, as an organization, will not get more than 22% of Ethereum validators, or should we consider this clearing the field to grab second place?
Hell no, we should be taking all the market share that we can get, because if you have like loser talk like this, like, oh, we're small, we only have like, okay, so outside of Rocket Pool has about like 4% market share right now. Stakewise, Statter Labs and Diva all are probably like less than 1% together. And
right,
yeah,
you heard it here first. Leviathan commits to self-limiting to greater than 22% of the validators.
Yeah, please, let's get all of you on
Squid,
Leviathan.
lock it up.
So again, like this is just like, this is a lot of virtue signaling, and it doesn't actually do anything for the space. Like Lido's not going to change their direction, and these protocols should just build better LSDs that people want to use. And if they build something that's better and more competitive, and incentivizes people to move away from Lido and into their protocol, then the whole system will naturally balance out, right? You don't have to like, because like none of these protocols are ever going to hit 22%. That's the thing. This is why this is so virtue signaling, is because none of these people are ever going to have more than 20%. I would even like going forward, if any of these hit more than 10%, I would be surprised of market share. Yeah, exactly. This is like Bing saying, when we're the #1 search engine, we'll limit ads. We're gonna just cap our revenues so that we can let everybody else eat as well too. Because really what they want is Lido to impose some controls on themselves and divest of about 10% of the total market share that they have, so that it can flow into them. And so this is entirely self-serving and just completely moralizing and virtue signaling. It's pretty sad.
I don't know if I see things like as harshly as you do on that angle, yet I can get your point and where you're coming from. I do agree with your basic point to the fact that, listen, markets are markets. If they want to compete, they have to offer a better product and to make people like use their services because they earn more, and not because they think it's the more appropriate thing to do or anything like that, because people will go where money is paid. And I know that a lot of people are quite worried about centralization risks around Ethereum and Lido. But like you said, Lido is a very complex entity, and the point of the matter is that stuff are not going to change. But Lido are not going to give up market share, and other competitors won't gain market share by asking for it. They will gain market share by creating good products that will attract some of that market share. For example, maybe you'd say that Frax did it in a way with their LSD once they come out and gain some market share for themselves. Maybe not huge yet, but it's a long process,
But look, I mean, if this 22 this arbitrary line that was drawn at 22% was so important and actually threatening to the overall health of Ethereum, like the community as a large would have instituted controls, but there are no controls, and there's no political will except with these kind of like loser talk, moralizing virtue signalers to try to like put these like thinly disguised like claims out there, right? Like it's like when you have, I don't know, think about it in like regular politics, right? When you have like people who come out and make these decrees about like what they would do or how they would act in certain situations, but they're never actually going to get into that position of power. It just doesn't make sense. I don't particularly find it interesting. It's a bit sad, really. because at the end of the day, like what is this tweet going to actually do, right?
It got them 10 minutes of free airtime on Leviathan News.
Yeah, that is true. Actually, that is true. We should probably move on then, because it's like, you know, at least we identified it as like as like, you know, loser talk here, and we can just know which protocols we should probably avoid for the long term. Because again, like I don't even think like, okay, let me just come back for one more point. Have any of these protocols actually put this to a governance vote? I thought these were like DAOs, right? Like, is there anything in their code that limits them to 22%? All of this would have to go to a vote. And then there's nothing in these protocols code that would stop them from going above 22%. And sure, like the core dev teams who made these virtue signaling commitments could say that they wanted to limit it at 22%, but if they're actually decentralized entities, you know, it takes a vote, and I don't think any of them have self-limit caps in the moment. So it's all, again, like
it got them 12 minutes of airtime.
12 minutes of airtime. Let's move on, because this is just sad.
Because also, like, you know, it's one thing to say that you're going to limit yourself to 22%, but it's another thing when the money is actually knocking at your door to say, no, I'm not taking that money anymore.
Exactly. Token holders who benefit from increased revenues by the size of their market share growing are going to cap out those revenues and say, oh, hey, no, like we don't want to grow anymore. We don't want any more revenues coming in.
Yeah.
Just let somebody else take it.
Yeah. That's not how things usually tend to happen. Let's say.
All right. Again, let's talk about winners, actually. And the clear winner of this past quarter has been Base. Base has been crushing it, and totally crushing it. Like, Base is out there doing better than everybody else. They are the number one chain, L2, whatever you want to call it, that has just been climbing up the rankings. And let's see. Here we go. So here's
the flow in there was actually insane this month at a bear market.
So here's DeFi Llama's TVL charts.
Wow.
It's a sea of red. 1 month change for everybody except maybe Solana somewhere. No, Solana's negative as well too. Base 4,000% increase in TVL over the past month. 100% increase over the past 7 days. 1 day change, 89%. So their TVL doubled in just under 24 hours at Base. That's
the Aerodrome stuff?
Yes. Yeah. So overnight, Aerodrome was able to attract, well, look at that. They're topping out with $204.7 million of TVL right now.
That's a lot of money, man.
Yeah. So Aerodrome, and wants to become Base's central liquidity hub. It's a fork of Velodrome that's on Optimism. So Velodrome took months to reach $170 million worth of TVL, and Aerodrome has hit that in 3 days. So that's pretty crazy. That's incredible.
Maybe we should try and get someone on from there.
Yeah, I'm really, you know, it could be that people are just farming the exchange token. So we'll see how sticky those deposits are over the next month or so. But even still, to be able to attract that amount of liquidity in just a few days is pretty incredible. So now Base is the 10th largest network by TVL and 3rd biggest Ethereum layer 2 behind Arbitrame and Optimism, which is,
man, that's actually kind of crazy. You know, like how much of that capital would you say is actually mercenary and will quickly leave Aerodrome or leave Base? Like, do you think it's mostly mercenary capital, or is it like sticky stuff?
Optimism. It's an Optimism roll up, so it has to take 7 days to leave.
Yeah. I don't know how sticky it is, but it definitely is coming in size, and we'll see how much of it sticks over the next few months. But Base is the place to be right now.
Yeah. Definitely doing some great stuff this past month, for sure.
Yeah, pretty awesome. Also, we had Prisma Finance. What? Yeah, I love
Have you
Base.
all used Base? Other than
I
friends that come in?
I haven't yet.
I have to say, like, I found the bridge was like quick, cheap. Somehow, like, I don't know if like they did like special optimizations to it or something, but it was like super cheap to bridge some Ethereum over to it. So just really impressed. They did a great UI, like great experience on Base so far.
Yeah, and the partnership with, I mean, like it being so close to Coinbase or like run by Coinbase is going to help it in the long term, because they'll have the best access to liquidity. Coinbase will just build all of their withdrawals bridges into it. Like, I don't know if you use the Base bridge, but it's lightning fast, and the fees are pretty cheap, and it'll be like Coinbase's hub, which is pretty cool. Like, you don't really see that. I mean, the only other example that I could give is like BNB chain, right? And they've been able to do some pretty great stuff just by being so connected into Binance.
I was just about to ask, because I feel like some people have been making the comparison that this is basically Binance Smart Chain, but for Americans. Like, do you think that's just going to become the U.S. burger chain?
Maybe, but that's good, right? Because you think about like stablecoin liquidity flowing in, and where institutions might feel safe going first, because a lot of it is like, where is institutional capital going to flow? And if it's coming through Coinbase, like if you set up your Coinbase account, like maybe they'll start pushing people into, Coinbase approved apps on Base, or they'll have like, we talked about this yesterday. They're going to be implementing some sort of like decentralized identity where they'll have walled gardens and other things that are more kosher for American users and institutions.
Does this open like people up to too much regulatory risk if the United States continues its war against crypto, though?
No. I'm just talking about like apps that are being built on top of it. I don't think it's. I mean, Coinbase's biggest issue is that they run all the sequencers right now, and so they will need to eventually like offload that to something else. But that's a problem to have for later on. Okay, so big news launch of the day is Prisma Finance has filled its wstETH debt cap within 2 hours. That's pretty cool.
And then as of going live, they also filled their sfrxETH debt cap.
Oh, hey, look at that. How big were those caps?
Those were 6 million a cap per pool.
Oh, right. Nice. So the only ones that are remaining are rETH and Coinbase ETH as well.
This could be tough, because isn't rETH limited to 22% of the total validators?
So let's just take a look at their website. So sfrxETH and sfrxETH are filled up. rETH and Coinbase still have, so there's about $2.5 million worth of rETH left, and $4 million worth of Coinbase ETH that can be deposited.
Yeah. So at the moment, I took a look at it this morning and did disclosure. I'm an investor in Prisma for anyone. Most of it is flowing to these, basically the equivalent, because it's like a liquidity fork of the stability module on Prisma. But it's going to be used in much the same manner, and it says that it's going to be getting rewards. But at the moment, it doesn't look like the rewards are yet streaming to it, so it's unclear like why people are in such a hurry to mint.
Because it's capped, and they want to be first.
Yeah, they feel it's a project with the right connection to the right ecosystem, and people are attracted to it. If it feels that quickly. What's that?
Yeah, the second largest source of liquidity is the Curve pool, which is Frax base pool, and currently within that pool, at least MKUSD as they're calling it, is trading just like around like the Go peg. It's like a 98 cents due to the amount of like Maker USD that's flooded into that one too. So they're going through the governance. Not yet. They kicked up in the vote a day ago. Very likely it's going to pass. The vote to approve their contract to whitelist VECRV is basically like the largest participation that we've seen in terms of VECRV votes since the convex vote. Just a ton of people came out of like the woodwork to vote using their VECRV on it, because there's I guess like some hope or expectation or whatever you want to call it that people who voted on that were going to get like a little airdrop after the fact. So
quite a reasonable assumption, probably.
So maybe you can answer me this. This is probably the third or fourth liquidity fork that's using LSDs. Is there anything significant about Prisma versus like LBRA, or I can't remember the other ones that of what they'll be doing?
So my understanding from when I talked to them is that they also are kind of partnering a little bit with like Convex and Frax to kind of enmesh themselves a bit more into their governance. So we should be having some of the team on actually next week to chat with us about it. So I'll hit up all you guys to get some questions for the team when they stop by.
Well, they are like Llama connected, right?
Yeah, they fundraised from basically everybody within DeFi, with the exception of course, Liquidity. So kind of like the way I see it is it's like a little bit like the convex stablecoin almost.
So family and friends means they raised money from Michael and C2TP, maybe Sam from Frax, Llama Node's team, who've been on as well too, and then Team Lee and Bobby Ong from CoinGecko.
Much
and you,
it
Gerrit,
got like
and
yeah, it got the. It's so long that like they didn't have room to put my name on there, but like I threw like $3 in there, so.
Well, that's nice. It's good to see. So this will be like, I can understand this actually because Liquidity is not the like when it comes to Curve and Convex and especially Frax, Liquidity is not the friendliest. So having a LSD forked version that is friendly towards these organizations probably sits a little bit better with some people.
Yeah. It also like Liquidity seems to be very opposed for whatever reason to some of these like LSTs. Whereas Prisma just going forward with exclusively LSTs, like I think that like it's just a much more attractive from the user's perspective, right? Like just drawing the comparison to like Curve USD, there's like a ton of demand for using sfrxETH to mint Curve USD, a ton of demand for using wrapped stETH. There's almost no demand for just using raw Ethereum. Liquidity really cares a lot about the concept of like decentralization, though. So I think that they much prefer like regular ETH, which is they consider to be much more decentralized.
Well, look, I get their point, right? Like
they have a new V2 coming though. They are going to have to add LSD and stuff. Like well, look, they will have a V1 for just the raw ETH, but they are like they know that so much capital is going on there, like they can't ignore it.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I think like the core Liquidity contract where it's just raw ETH going in is a great contract, right? If you're going to be minting stable coins against something that has no collateral risk or protocol risk, except for whatever smart contract you're using, like Liquidity is the place to go. Like as soon as you introduce these LSDs, like now you're a derivative product that opens itself up to the contract risk that is imparted by these other protocols. So like from Lido or from sfrxETH, like using raw ETH as the collateral product does have its advantages. And so like it's not that like Liquidity is bad. It's very core actually. Like if you think about like the most decentralized stable coin in the sense that the contracts are immutable, there is nothing that can be done to change them, and it uses like just raw ETH for the input and output. I mean that is Liquidity, right? I mean that's what you want.
Yeah, we got to get we got to get Token Bryce on next week. Also, if we're going to give Prisma time, we got to let Token Bryce give rebuttal or whatever. Like we're big fans of liquidity, right?
I think that this is just other innovation. People trying to expand the design space of liquidity to other assets, right? Like, I don't think it's wrong.
Imitation's sincerest form of flattery.
Exactly. Like just like with the Aerodrome people who launched on Base, like they're taking the Velodrome code, right? Everybody's going to fork something, and there's always going to be a million different variations. And for some people who don't, like for projects that like Liquidity, which don't, or they can't add LSDs because there's only ETH. It takes other projects like these
to. With V2, they are doing it, Sam. With V2, they are adding it. Like, they will have their own contract of doing it with Roy. But I think that they understand the market and see that, there's going to be so much liquidity and demand for this kind of stuff with the LSDs that they're going to have to do it as well. And with the V2, it is coming. But it is going to be like quite interesting to see like the different projects building on this narrative of Prisma, liquidity. Competition is quite healthy, to be honest.
Yeah. So llama. Okay, so the host of our last story, it's kind of crazy. Gerrit actually found this, and the host of a U.S. crypto radio show is imprisoned for a $650,000 Alpaca farm fund. Okay, so Dana McIntyre, who hosted the Dana Crypto Show and owned the Rasta Pasta Pizzeria in Beverly, Massachusetts, has been convicted and received a 2-year prison sentence on Wednesday for, get this, applying for over $660,000 in the COVID-19 PPP funds, and used those PPP funds. Well, he applied not just for himself, but also for his 2 children for 2 non-existent companies. One, which was called Dana's Dank Pies. In the application, he claimed to have no work income despite still running and profiting from his pizzeria. He received $17,000 from the government in 2020, September, and then filed for further COVID-19 relief in April 2020 for $660,000. He then sold his pizzeria and used most of the funds to buy 8 alpacas and a farm in Vermont, which he ran as an Airbnb. The loan also paid for airtime of his weekly crypto radio show that claimed to be the first and only weekly FM radio show on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. He also used the money to purchase a pickup truck, a vintage car, redecorate his kitchen, and pay for cosmetic spa. There's also a picture of the alpacas that he has right here. Beautiful. The girls
should have gone for one, as it seems.
I know.
It's kind of a shame because like it's pretty clear that he was misappropriating the funds. But on the other hand, like there was, I would guess that like the plurality, if not majority, of people who received COVID loans kind of use those towards like fraudulent purposes. So it really seems like a case of selective enforcement. Like he clearly got some time on the FM airwaves. Like that's public goods. I'm sure talking about Bitcoin and whatnot so often on it, like rubbed some people the wrong way. So I think they went after him. And of course, they found that he was misappropriating money. So that is on him. 2-year sentence seems excessive, but I don't know.
I mean, this PPP thing is not just about alpacas. Like, here's a story from the New York News recently, back in July, about how the government thinks that over $200 billion was stolen. And
right, but they go after this one guy. They don't go after the other 200 billion worth. They go after the one guy who got less than $1 million.
Yeah. Most of it, actually, I read a report where most of it was stolen by like Russian and Chinese and other scammers, North Korean scammers.
Yeah, I mean, it pisses me off because I was running a small business and I couldn't get a loan. and I saw all these other people getting loans, and I was like, yeah, a lot of the big people got loans. So when it looked like corporate welfare.
Yeah. So a bunch of people are going to jail. The government's very slow, but a lot of people took a lot of money and just used it to buy stuff, and probably led to a lot of the inflation that we have now from these PPP loans.
It was I don't want to dig up ancient history, but it was the biggest wealth transfer from the poor to the rich in human history, and no one talked about it at the time.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a crime.
Well,
it feels to me like when they went after Martha Stewart after the was it 2008 financial crisis, like the only person who went to jail was Martha Stewart, just because she was politically someone that they wanted to knock out. It feels like it smacks of selective prosecution because the government has an agenda against crypto people. So it's like of the $200 billion of the fraud, they go after the one Bitcoin person. It's
so
it's something else.
U.S. Attorney for Massachusetts said Dana McIntyre capitalized on a national catastrophe and stole hundreds of thousands of dollars from a limited pool of money set aside to help struggling businesses, said FBI Special Agent Jody Cohen. Today's sentence holds him accountable for his selfish criminal conduct.
We'll see. If we start seeing bigger players go to jail for it, then I'll take it back. But if this is the only guy if this is the only fall guy, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Good point.
So they can, but the good thing is they can go after these forever, right? There is no, in cases of wire fraud and tax fraud, I don't believe that there's a statute of limitations. So good luck.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, good luck.
Maybe it just hits close to home because we are also radio broadcasters and also have an affinity for llamas. So I feel like they're firing a warning shot across our bow. Leviathan's next.
You have a very good point there, Gerrit, because selective enforcement is a huge deal because they go after who's ever easy to catch. They don't go after whoever was actually doing the worst stuff. And
they don't need to declare war on crypto. They could just only enforce the laws against crypto people, and they have so many laws on the books that they could nail literally everybody.
Yeah, but I think we should keep our heads up high. I think we're gonna give quite a battle back, and I think this we should remember it's a very long game to win at. And also the world is big. When at some points a door closes, at other places a door opens many times. Not many kind of places. Not many doors are opened over there. The wrong door.
Yeah,
we'll win in the long run. We'll win in the long run. I just see all the excess yield we see in DeFi is the extra risk of all this kind of tangential stuff coming to nail people.
I want to ask you guys a short question about the Prisma stuff from earlier. Do you think that if they instead of using rETH and CBETH caps, if they had bigger caps for wrapped staked ETH and sfrxETH, do you think they'd feel it as well? Because I think
it's coming.
But
I think they might wait till.
Yeah.
I'd guess, and I have no knowledge here, that they just kind of wait till after the airdrop goes through. So that way they can kind of get a measure of who was early and kind of snapshot that. That would be my hunch if I were running it.
Yeah.
Oh, guys, actually, I forgot the leaving the juiciest story for last.
Whoa.
Yeah. Breaking news.
Good one.
Do we want to talk about Ben Armstrong and the ongoing saga drama around his life? Okay, so
why not indeed?
Last week, Ben Armstrong said that BitBoy Crypto Group said that they were cutting ties with Ben Armstrong. They said that he had relapsed into substance abuse and that he just was no longer a positive. Yeah, I'm gonna bring it up in a second. So here's the story from CoinMarketCap. Let me bring this up. So he was being cut out. Yes. So yesterday, BJ Investment Holdings took decisive legal action, removing Ben Armstrong from the company.
It's called BJ Investment Holdings.
Yeah, I know. And they accused him of like drug misuse. Like in response, Ben came out and posted a drug test saying that he had not been taking heroin, amphetamines, cocaine, marijuana, opiates, or PCP. Yeah, that's actually a nice mixture. I wonder what you call it. If you mix all of those together, those 6 drugs. I wonder what that's called.
What did they accuse him of taking? Like, what kind of drug did he say that he's using?
Who knows? Who knows?
Did he have this drug test handy, or did he just run out and get a drug test?
Yeah, when did he get it? He got it done on the 29th of... So I guess he got it like immediately afterwards.
Weird, man.
So they published this. He immediately goes out, gets a drug test, and says like, "No, I'm not on drugs." Even though these are like, there's other drugs than these, right? Like, I don't see any sort of like benzos or any other, like, what other drugs are we missing here, right? So there's heroin, amphetamines, cocaine, marijuana, opiates, PCP. There was LSD is not on the list, but I don't think they can really like test for that pretty well.
But also we all know what kind of drug the chat is asking about. You know?
Yeah, I don't see any chips on here. Any nacho cheese here?
That's the kind of drugs I think Pimps is asking about.
Yeah. So yeah, and then yeah, that isn't that a little weird? He just like comes out and says like, here's a drug test. But some tweets were deleted. I'm not actually sure what this is in response to. Maybe I'm blocked or something, or they were deleted. But the drug test came back, and then later on yesterday, it was found out there was a video that was posted where I'm not actually able to find it, but it was some guy talking with Ben. I'm not sure who the guy was, but like they were talking about Ben having an affair with his wife, which was a result of his like substance abuse, and it was a little strange. Apparently, he had a affair with Cassandra Wolf, who's known as the Duchess of DeFi.
Oh, she's gorgeous. I was expecting a real troll.
Yeah. And then he comes out yesterday, later, and he publicly apologized with his wife for disappointing his fans and shared details about his relationship and the use of substances, specifically steroids. Wow. So he's fucking juicing. That explains a lot of this, right? When he's like,
I'm here fighting for you. This guy with these freaking glasses on, this douchebag.
So that explains a lot of the roid rage.
Whoa.
Yeah. But
what is even going on?
I mean, it explains a lot. He's like juicing hard, right? And just wants to like slide into somebody's DMs. But yeah. I'm okay with
it. Showed her his boy bits.
Yeah. Are you guys okay with steroids? Because I like, he's like a 40 to 50-year-old man, like, testosterone replacement or whatever he's doing to stay jacked. Like,
also, what are you going to do? Ban it? Like, people, if you ban it, people will get it illegally. Like, what's the difference?
If
a grown-up decides to use something, they're going to use it. Like, you're not going to be able to stop them either way. TRT, like,
let's get him on the show, because I feel like we're being very one-sided against him. Let's hear his side of the story.
No, I'm all for steroid use, and but not the cheating side, but like just roiding out. I think is acceptable. I like, come on, guys. Like, he just wants to get ripped, and probably he's like in his 50s. He wants to feel like he's like 25 again. Like, let's not get the man down. But specifically coming back to the drug test, right? So the drug test didn't have any steroids on there. It was just for like illicit drugs like PCP, which do you know anybody that's actually done PCP before? Because I don't.
I don't think so.
No, PCP is not like cool, guys. Like, you either got to do the Fetty or, just shoot up that T.
It's some extreme stuff like
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Not your normal DeFi stuff, like not some simple yield farming to start the day. Or...
Exactly. Well, we'll end it there, and we'll continue to follow the ongoing case of Ben Armstrong and his baddies. Gerrit, DeFiAdvisoor, always a pleasure.
Goodbye, folks.
Yeah, see you all later.